you don't have these on, it's really hard to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah.
And Marcy didn't have hers on, and Christine left hers on, and that created a lot of
Mm-hmm.
bad noise. We were thinking about turning them off.
Yeah, fancy that. Okay, folks, let's get started. We'll start off with the roll call, if you would, please. James?
Okay. Commissioner Toscher? Here. Commissioner Crowner? Here. Commissioner Byrne? Commissioner Balderman?
Here.
Commissioner Golden?
Here.
Vice Chair Harmon?
Here,
And Chair Addison.
Here. Ms. Toscher, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as usual, we will open with public comment. We have several people in the audience. Is there anybody who has anything they would like to address the commission about? Going once? Going twice? Nobody. Okay, we will move on to the approval of the minutes. Everybody has the minutes for March. I'm sorry.
I believe there are public comments.
Oh,
Oh, I got it. It's different. I thought I had to wait
No.
We
no.
don't make you wait.
for the agenda item to come up.
Ray, if you would like to address the commission, now is the time to do it.
Thank you. I'm
Could you
Ray.
identify yourself,
I'm
please?
Ray Powers.
W-
I live here in Ojai.
If I could just add or clarify one thing, you can comment at the time of the item. We haven't had anybody do so in quite a while, but you can comment if
Well,
it's
I'm here
something
to
on the agenda.
Comment on item E. So that's why I was confused.
So I would suggest taking that at the same time as the item.
All right,
That's
let's
what I
hold off
thought.
then.
Can we move the item up?
We can move the item to the top of the list, so let's do that, and you can
Thank you.
Okay.
you can kick off if you
So
would,
we're not
please.
gonna do the minutes.
Okay.
We'll
So I do this first,
after
or you
the
have a
minutes.
discussion first?
Let's approve the minutes first, please,
Okay.
for the previous March meeting. Are there any comments or questions about the minutes for March 22nd?
I had one correction, and I can't remember what it was.
All right, hearing none, we'll presume that the minutes are approved, yes?
I'm a little late. Sorry.
Okay, we'll start again.
Well,
Are there
I'm
any
sorry.
comments or questions
I
about the
was
minutes for
kind of-
March 22nd?
I was
Yes.
in La La Land, sorry about that. My question is, in the minutes I noticed under Commissioner comments, it says that I had a question related to the Brown Act training. Are we supposed to say that I had a question or what that question was? Is it important to include what the question is?
We can clarify it. We've been moving towards action minutes, which have been less, like not word for word. I think the question to be exact, was if it was mandatory. So we could put that in there and make that change.
Okay, we'll make that change. Any other changes or comments? Okay, hearing none, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes, please. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, now we'll move on, and at the request of an audience member, we will move agenda item E to the top of the list, which is the start time for the Trimpan Arch Redux event. Mr. Powers, I believe you wish to say something.
I would, thank you, and I'm Ray Powers. I live here in the city of Ojai. First, in terms of the item number description, I'm not clear on what the new start time is, so I haven't heard your discussion. Just to say, I am on the ad hoc committee for the Trimpan Arch Redux, but I want to make sure we all have the same information, so I'm addressing the same info you have, so.
The change of time is mandated by the music festival, And the shift is to 9 in the morning on the Sunday in question,
Got it.
and that's when it will be. And that will be listed as such in their program.
Okay, so I guess two things I have to say is I'm not aware it was mandated by the festival, and the ad hoc committee was formed 6 or 7 months ago. We've been working very, very hard at this. You know better than I the investment that was made into the Trippin Arch. A lot of city money was spent on it. It's fascinating how many people in the community don't know it exists. I ask people all the time, especially the last 6, 7 months that I've been involved on the ad hoc committee, about the re-unveiling of the Trippin Arch. And people go, what's that? Well, that's partly why the ad hoc committee was created, to bring some attention to a piece of public art that was also created by a composer that's been placed in the background pretty much because it became a ticket booth, if you will. And so it went unnoticed. And so we've been planning an event that would bring some new attention to it. And the whole purpose of the event was to do it at a time during the festival where there would actually be attendees there, that it would actually be an event that would have a short amount of time that was not interfering with festival rehearsals and not interfering with any festival events that were happening, musical events. Just to let you know, it's a short presentation we're going to give, 10, 15 minutes. We did invite the music festival to present the idea to one of their composers to compose something. We never heard anything back. You may not know, I'm a composer, a well-trained conservatory composer. You may be aware of my, just giving some creds, my symphony I wrote a few years ago called Valley of the Moon.
We, in fact, provided a grant in support of that, so we
Yes,
are
you
aware
did.
of that.
And I appreciate, well, I didn't know if it was all the same commission at the time. So thank you for that. And you granted some money this year as well. I went over there with James Hahn the other day to the Arch. I actually brought one of my MIDI keyboards, plugged it into the Arch, actually played it. It gets triggered.
I'm going to cue it up when you're done.
Oh,
We
good.
do a video of
Show
that.
everyone.
We
Well,
can
there I am.
Cool.
Let's continue with the presentation.
So that's just a little, I wanted to just tell you what we've been up to. So I'm very, very concerned that our requests, it appears, have been pretty ignored to be able to do our presentation at a time that made it available for the community and for the festival goers. 9 a.m. in the morning places it right at a time when a lot of people are still up at Besant School for that concert. So we miss out on a whole bunch of people there. And there's no one in the park other than the Mahler rehearsal that's happening. So our request is that we're able to do the Redux at noon, which is right after the gazebo performance. There'll be a lot of people in the park. It won't interfere with that. And it's also 15 minutes later that the Mahler rehearsal ends. So the park will be populated, and people will actually be able to see this fascinating piece of art, which is also a musical instrument. I've been involved with MIDI and electronic music for 35 years now. In fact, I worked for companies that invented some of the instruments that are still being used now. So we want to show people how the iPhone app works, how you can actually choose a sound and it will play. I've already done that. I played it live. But if the park isn't populated or no one's there, all our efforts for the last 6 or 7 months have kind of been for a waste. So what I'm petitioning the Arts Commission for is to allow us to do the Redux at 12 noon, right after the Gazebo Park performance and right after the Mahler rehearsal. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes, another comment from the audience, if you would, please. Yeah.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Wyrick. I live in the city of Ojai, and I am part of the ad hoc committee, and I've learned so much by being on this committee, not only about Trimpen, but I've gotten to know people in Ojai a little bit better, being fairly new. I too would like to build on what Ray said. I too would like to petition the commission to strongly ask for a noon time for this. 9 o'clock is just, we won't have anybody. I mean, it's just kind of unseemly at this point for all the work that's gone on when noon is available and the park will be full of people, and it's exactly what we need. And this commission also has given a great deal of money to the music festival, so I think using the word mandate kind of bothers me. I mean, they just said, one person said it's going to be 9 o'clock. So I'm having a hard time with that, considering all the time and work we've put into this. I would like people to be in the park to enjoy this demonstration, because people don't know about it. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just the place where you go to get into the bowl, and that's not what it is. It's a piece of art, and it should stand alone as a piece of art that this city, this commission, has paid for, and it's one to be very, very proud of. And if any of you don't know about Trimpen and don't want to read the book, which is kind of all over the place, but I did write a research paper on him, and I will happily email my abbreviated bio on Trimpen to anybody in this room, and you'll understand maybe after reading it, those of you that aren't in the visual arts, you know, what a name he is, and what a good piece of art this is for the city of Ojai. I mean, it is an iconic piece of art by an internationally known artist, and we need to be proud of it, and to be proud of it means we don't demonstrate it when nobody's there to demonstrate it to. We demonstrate it at noon when everybody's there but nothing is going on in the bowl. It's the best time to do it. And I'm going to strongly petition that you all consider contacting whoever made this decision, and please request with all of your authority as commissioners of the city of Ojai that this time be changed. That's all, really all I have to say. I'm just pleading with you at this point. I think it needs to happen. It needs to happen in the best way possible. Okay, any questions? No?
I think it's fair to say that all of us on the commission are aware of, A, the importance of the work, B, we're aware of the international relations reputation of Trimpen. Those are known facts. Nobody questions that.
Well, I'm so glad. Then people need to know how this musical instrument also is played.
That's certainly true.
And that's just been lost since it's been installed.
Can I say something?
Okay. Members of the commission, yes. Linda?
I have been on the commission, and I was on the commission when the Trimpen sculpture was installed. I took
I was
film.
there. I was
took
there.
film of it being installed. We had it on the website. We did have education. We had lots of PR went out. But I am complete agreement that it's a wonderful idea. I wasn't at the last meeting when I watched the meeting online, which I love doing. Thank you for the city of Ojai for doing that. I was very excited that you guys were doing this. But like Michael said, we are aware. Trimpen came to town. He dedicated it, so it's. We have no question that it's important. My question is, why was the time?
Well, there's a tangled history to this, but the most recent issue was that there is apparently going to be a rehearsal in the bowl that would overlap with the time that is preferred. That is what I've been told by the executive director of the music festival. I'm not prepared to question that. I think that's an authoritative statement. So that was the reason for his telling us that it should instead be at 9 o'clock. because that way it will not conflict with any of the music festival events. I would add one other thing, and that is that the initial proposal to the music festival was that Trimpen would be a part of...
No, sir, it was not.
Well, I'm
It was
sorry.
not.
Excuse me, if I may. I didn't interrupt you. Don't interrupt me, please. The correspondence I've had with Jamie Bennett, who's the president of the music festival, assures me that in the initial conversations, the discussion was of Trimpen being there, and it was on that basis that they agreed to do it. Now,
Okay.
I wasn't at the meeting, so I'm just telling you what I've been told, okay? That's all. I don't want to...
May I speak now?
I don't want
Because
to argue.
I'm not
points like
arguing with
this.
you, sir, but Mahler's dead too. He's not going to be there, and we're still going to go and listen to Mahler. Okay?
That's not the issue. That's not
No,
the
the
issue.
issue,
Chairman Addison,
Yes.
that didn't
since
happen.
we are
Excuse
talking
me,
about the
please.
content of that meeting,
Yes.
I'd like to say something because I was at that meeting
Fine,
with
go
Barbara
ahead.
Hirsch, and we never promised that Trimpen would be there. We didn't even know. That's not the issue. Our intention never was that this was going to be a prerequisite of the event, that we were going to have the event regardless. I don't know, maybe he misunderstood us, there was a miscommunication, but our intention never was. If it was our intention, we would have canceled this when we found out about 6 weeks ago when Barbara reached him in Europe that he can't be here. We would have just canceled it, but we didn't. We don't view that as being the key factor for this. Everyone knows who Trimpen is. He came, he was here. The point I think Cynthia was trying to make is that you're going to play Mahler's, compositions, and he's not here in attendance. So, I mean, that's not the issue. So I wanted to mention that. Also, I would like to remind everyone that I believe it was the March 22nd, I handed out a status report, and 11 a.m. was indicated on there. No one had any objections. So I'm wondering why, Chairman Addison, you put this item on the agenda. I didn't request it. As a matter of fact, we are still negotiating with the music festival for a different time. We've learned that actually during the Mahler rehearsal, they're going to be having an event at the gazebo, which certainly will produce more noise than the Trimpen Arch for a minute or 2 minutes or whatever it's going to play. And actually, one of the members of the pop-up event at the gazebo is in the Mahler Orchestra. So I'm wondering what's up with that. Their next event is at 1 o'clock. The gazebo event gets out at 11:45. We're asking for the 15 minutes, 11:45 to noon or noon to do our 10 or 15 minutes. And we were just perplexed by this 9 a.m. change. But having said all of this, I would like to make a motion that this item be referred to the ad hoc committee for further discussion, enabling us to further negotiate with the music festival about the time. We've identified at least 15 other
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to refer this to the ad hoc committee for further investigation, discussion, negotiation, etc. I would only like to point out that if you do make a change from the time that's been suggested by the music festival, my understanding is it's going to be listed in the music festival program as happening at 9
I
o'clock.
think there's a point
like
of
to
order
address
here.
that.
With the motion on the floor, there can be no discussion. You have to take a vote.
No, that's not true.
I
There
don't
can
think
be
so.
discussion.
I'd like to talk to something before we have
Yeah.
a motion.
We have a motion on the floor, and
Yeah, with
I'm
the motion
opening
on
it
the
up to discussion.
Yes.
Thank you. Stuart, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I don't understand why the city has any right to change a programming time for the music festival, which has a 30-year lease on that property for 2 weeks every year, and that it's up to them to program their events, and we have to bend to their will. It seems to me that's the way it is.
Agreed.
When you lease
Yeah.
a facility, you control it. So how?
Agreed.
So you're just asking, is that what you're saying?
Agreed, and a time was designated for us, 11 a.m. We've identified 15 other opportunities to have a 15-minute little presentation, either before or after a gazebo event. When Barbara and I went to see Mr. Bennett, way back when this, we brought the opportunity to him, we said that we looked at the schedule and we said we thought it would be great to have it either before or after a gazebo event, would have minimal interference with any of the main stage presentations and all of that. And so he identified that 11 a.m. time, which works out perfectly, in conjunction with a gazebo event. So we just would like to explore that. We don't want to inconvenience the music festival and all of that, but we would like the opportunity to be able to to continue our discussions
Are they
about
willing
it.
to explore it further with you?
Well, we don't know. I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Seems like
as I
it's their-
understand it, we have a
their
motion
call.
on the floor that does not relate to this broader discussion. It relates to whether it should be referred to the ad hoc committee for further investigation and discussion. James, am I correct in assuming that if that does happen, and if the ad hoc committee comes to an agreement with the music festival, that we would then, as a commission, have to validate that? So we'd have to have a special meeting?
I don't think so.
You
Or
could
not.
do it one of either way. You can delegate it completely to the ad hoc committee, or you can
Okay.
ask that it come back to
Well,
the
I would
commission.
prefer that that happen.
I don't.
So let's,
Prefer that what
any
happen?
further, that it be delegated to the ad hoc committee.
What
So
was
any
the
further
motion?
discussion on
Sorry.
the motion to
Refer the matter.
refer the matter back to the ad hoc committee for further negotiation and discussion with the music festival? Am I correct in
Yes,
understanding that?
yes.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I really want to reiterate that I was excited about this. I wasn't at the last meeting. I think everybody's excited about it. We're not trying to kibosh anything. We respect all the work that's gone on into it. We all do a lot of work. We know what it's like. I just want to make sure that that's on the table, so. 'cause I
Absolutely.
hear
It's
a
just
lot
trying
of
to sort out what's
upsetness.
become rather tangled.
Well,
Yes.
after a vote, maybe we can queue up Ray. You want to get more
Yes.
excited? We'll queue up Ray's performance with the
Any
art.
further discussion on whether we refer this to the ad hoc committee?
Who's on the ad hoc committee? Is it commissioners, or is it townspeople, or both, or I don't know?
I'm the only commissioner, and then it's Cynthia Wyrick, Ray Powers, and Barbara Hirsch.
Okay.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Real quick, is the motion to, Commissioner Tosher, is the motion to delegate it completely to the ad hoc committee, or to make a recommendation and come back to the commission?
Just
Delegate.
refer it to the ad hoc committee for further deliberation and negotiations with the music festival.
And can I say, I'm sorry, one more thing. The other thing would be that Barbara Hirsch was a commissioner when this was I was on, I think Christine was on, when Trimpen, the sculpture was there. So she knows the ins and outs of the whole thing. So I'm very comfortable with it.
That's why she's on the committee.
Okay, any further discussion, questions, comments? Okay, I think we'd best have a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Commissioner Tosher,
Yes.
Commissioner Crowner,
No.
Commissioner Byrne,
Yes.
Commissioner Balderman,
Yes.
Commissioner Golden,
Yes.
Commissioner Harmon,
Yes.
and Commissioner Addison.
Abstain.
And so motion carries.
Okay. Yes, we have another comment from the audience.
Mr. Addison, I apologize for losing my temper.
That's all right.
No, I'll tell you why. It's because you're talking about this issue over Trimpen attending, and I've talked with Barbara Hirsch about it, who was the key person at that meeting, that first meeting, and talking about Trimpen. It was like a best-case scenario. No one ever said, according to Barbara Hirsch, and I don't want to impugn her word for anything, that Trimpen was not going to be there. That was never said.
Well, we didn't promise.
We never promised. It was like, oh, wouldn't it be wonderful? And he can't. He's in Europe. He's doing another
Okay, we understand
installation.
that.
So
We
anyway,
understand.
I felt like Barbara, who's not here, was being impugned by.
I don't mean to impugn anyone.
I know you
I've heard
don't. I know
conflicting
you don't.
reports, and I'm just trying to put
And,
everything out
yeah,
on the
well,
table,
I'm
okay?
telling you what Barbara said to me, and it's really important, and I apologize so much for losing my temper.
You don't need to
My
apologize.
blood sugar tanked. What can I say?
It's
I
all right.
apologize.
Don't worry about it. Okay, any further discussion on this item while we
Yes.
have the Trimpen Arch Redux
Yes.
event on the agenda?
I'd
Yes.
like to close it up with that video, James, because it's amazing. I mean, it's a musical instrument, and Ray is playing it. Little smile at the end.
Sounds better on your cell phone. It's so muted on his. But
Yeah.
when we heard that, we were, I should have my thing on.
Your thing.
It got sent around to me as chair of the Public Art Committee, that little video that Ray did. And I have to tell you, it made me dance around the house when I heard it, because we weren't sure that we were even going to be able to hook a MIDI up to it. And it's just delightful. And Ray also sent, along with his GIF, I guess, whatever it is, GIF, that there were some kids one time when he was over there, a little girl, I think, and the delight when she walked under the arch and it sounded. And I was over there the other day with some people from the Lavender Festival, and a young boy walked under the arch, and he just it was kids. If you see kids respond to this. And so I do want to make a comment. I don't think the ad hoc committee wants to fight with the music festival. We just want, there's so many times we could do it. We're open to doing it. Any one of the left, there are now 15 opportunities before or after a pop-up concert to do this. And all we're asking them is, won't you please give us one of those? So we don't want to fight with them. We understand that they have the final word, and if the final word is 9 o'clock, we'll go forward with 9 o'clock. The committee, I've been told, has a really robust plan for getting the word out for whatever the time is. So it'll be successful one way or the other, but we sure would like to have festival goers there. And I also want to mention that the former head of the music festival, Jeff Hayden, what we're doing actually was spelled out by Jeff Hayden to do this at a music festival. So we're hopeful.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, as follow-up to that, I have a letter from him after the arch was commemorated, and he imagined when the arch would run through before different performances at the Bull, 10 minutes that could be composed by visiting composers and musicians appearing at the Bowl and all of that. This is a way it could be utilized that it never happened, despite what Jeff Hayden got so excited about, the possibilities for the arch. So anyway.
And Marcy, you had mentioned to me that you saw the display that's going up at the museum. You might
Yes,
wanna
that's another thing. It's not just the committee that's been working diligently to make this event happen. There have been a lot of people involved. The city has been involved, spent many, many, many hours. The museum, I just got a look at the exhibit that's going to go up in the museum, and in there, it's going to have a little section in the tent on the grounds of the music festival, and it's beautiful. It's just really beautiful. So there's a
Roger
lot of
Conrad worked on it.
yeah, there's a lot of work that has gone into this beyond just what the commissioners,
Well,
the
that
committee
we're aware
members
of. I
have
mean,
done.
that's what was reported at our last commission meeting, and it's exemplary, it really is. I mean, the fact that the ad hoc committee is made up of a commission member and a former commission member, a composer, and members of the public is exactly what should happen. So there's no question about that. I think we all share our reverence, if you will, for this fine piece of public art, and we want it to be acknowledged. It's just trying to work our way through what has become a tangle. But now it's the ad hoc committee's responsibility
Right.
to work it out.
Right, well,
Okay, and we'll leave it at that.
Thank
Any
you.
further discussion on this issue? Okay, let's continue then, please, to our items as listed on your agenda, and we'll move forward with the Arts Committee report, Art Grants Committee report, if you would, please.
yes, this will be very brief. I'm at the next meeting going to present a revised application for everyone to review. I will mail it in advance. I apologize, I didn't have time to do it
Okay. there's
before
plenty of
this
time.
meeting, but you'll get it. That's it.
And I remind everybody that Marcy passed out a complete timeline for the grant program for this year. So that's all in your hands, and we'll be operating on the basis of that timeline
And if
that was
anyone,
approved.
yeah, and if anyone needs it, I can email it again.
Is it in this packet?
No,
It was from
in
last week,
Last
But I
month.
can email you.
Well, if, I got last month, too. If it's in there, I'll.
Okay. All right, let's move on then, please, to the Budget Committee report. And the issue here is to review the suggested budget proposal that we looked at last meeting and see if there are any changes that we wish to make at this point. Would you like me to go over again the numbers,
It's this one, right?
Yeah, it's in your packet this time. It's the art grants, 27.5 we're requesting, which is a slight bump from last year on the basis of the large number of grant applications we receive. 4,000 for art acquisitions, which is a continuing program. The artist-student mentor program, we've asked it to be 5,000. It slipped this year because of my mistake in putting last year's budget together, and I put the wrong figure in. And so we got what we requested. So we've only got the money for 4 artist mentors this year, and I've asked for it to be boosted to 5, which is what it's always been. So that will be the 5,000, and that 5,000, by the way, is supplemented by $1,250 from the Education Foundation, who pay for the 5th. City Gallery, again, 3,000. The Art Museum, continuing that relationship with them, requesting 6,000. Art Awards, $750, the same as last year. Arts Education is far less than last year because we're going to be entering the planning phase for the next book in the series, and we'll have a report on how the architecture book is going when we get to that. Public art, $1,000 to supplement the ever-growing amount of money that's in the Public Art Fund, which is a happy situation. Public relations, same thing. And last but not least, and singularly important, our share of copier rental, $250. Right?
May I ask a question?
Yes,
Linda.
questions?
Linda, for art acquisitions, is that for the racks?
I did submit the invoice or the estimate for the new. Remember I said that I wasn't here for the last one, so I couldn't present it. But I did send it on, and for some reason we miscommunicated and it didn't get presented. But we found a solution that we think, between Wendy and I, we went online and talked. We called, make a long story short, they're cheaper. This other type of system, we're going to reutilize what we already have and get some additional hardware that will adapt some of the racks we have. We need more things for the hang, space for things that hang. And these the new hardware will divide up shelves, much like an artist's rack in a studio would be, so you can slide the work in. They don't have to be hung, so they can be slid into smaller pieces. And then we can use the existing racks for the larger pieces. Yeah. So we're looking at an estimate of around, I think it was around close to 3,000. I sent it to you, I can't remember. I think it was 2,700 or something like that. So we're thinking we can get it done for around that. So that's what we're aiming for. So I don't even know, I hesitate. I would lower that amount.
Lower the museum amount?
Yeah, because last time we had it a little higher because we did that city museum joint show, and that's why we had more in the budget.
You might have labor costs, which you would want to
Yeah.
include in there, so don't.
No,
don't-
the
don't
estimate is
give it back.
inclusive.
It is?
Yeah, so that's the only reason I'm thinking we could knock that down to 5,000 if you want. That still leaves us another 1,000 like
Okay.
slush fund.
If we could hold off on that, because when we get to actual discussion of art acquisitions with the City Gallery Committee, I have a proposal for the commission that I'd like to present that may call for more funding that I hope will excite everyone's interest. If you like, I could brush that forward right now. Quite simply, the idea is this. As you all know, the hospital is engaged in building the new continuing care facility. Barbara Hirsch is chair of a group working with the hospital called the Picasso Committee, and they have been responsible for acquiring and hanging all of the art that is in the hospital, and similarly in the present continuing care facility, and they are now then responsible for the new continuing care facility, which has more public wall space. And it occurred to me, and I broached this idea to Barbara, and she's very enthusiastic about it, that this might be an opportunity for us to further share the city's collection by taking some of the city's collection on maybe a 2-year rotating basis or something like that.
Brilliant.
And having essentially a satellite gallery that could have openings and so on, that will again highlight the fact that we have a city collection and make it more available to the community. So on that basis, I would like to leave these budgets the way
Okay.
they are.
So maybe we could put that, it would be City Art Museum and the Satellite Gallery, that funding. and then-
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. City Art
I just
Museum and
wanna say-
Satellite, yeah.
Chair Addison, that is brilliant.
Well,
been looking
we'll
for a
see.
way to do
We'll
it.
see, but it's a way to spread the word, way to spread the word and share the art. Okay? All right. Anything further on the budget? Okay, this is the budget that we will present, and when does that go to the council, James?
So the first budget meeting was actually May 8th. And so we did submit this as a placeholder to get it in.
Good.
But we'll resubmit it on the 22nd. Or, I'm sorry. I think that is right, the 22nd.
Okay, would you let me know when that is so that I can be at that meeting? to
Yeah, I'll
present the
send
budget?
something out to the entire commission. It should be the 22nd at 6
Okay.
PM. No, this coming Tuesday.
Yeah.
Chair Addison?
Yes.
I'm apologize for not thinking of this sooner, but as somebody who's on 2 committees, I would actually like if we could move some of the money from City Gallery to Public Relations, because there's things that we need for the website that cost money. And we also, I know Stuart had wanted photographers so that when we do press releases or we photograph things. So I would feel really comfortable moving 1,500 over to Public Relations so that if there was a widget that I needed to get, I could get it.
How would it be if we were to just create one category, city gallery / museum / satellite galleries, and combine those two sums of money, 3,000 and 6,000? Or do you think we're better off dividing them up, James? Which do you think will give us more credibility, if you will, with the council?
Well, and yeah, my immediate thought is actually more of these line items are actually in the budget. And
Let's
so when
leave
you're
it that
looking
way.
at this year compared to years past, they
Okay.
match up, which doesn't mean we need to keep it that way, but it,
Let's leave it this way, and I think if necessary, we can make adjustments along the lines that Christine is suggesting. I think it would be a small enough amount that I don't think we'd have to go to the council for approval.
Okay.
Or we have
I
to?
do think if we normally, if it's a public relations project and it's for the museum or for the gallery, we
Yes,
could
which is
fund it
what
from that.
happens a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so then, okay.
Yeah, as long as it's
Oh,
connected.
You can draw from that budget, yeah.
thank you.
Okay,
We're all on the same committee.
I know.
yeah.
It's true.
Well, and that's another issue. Well, we'll come to that later. We'll come to that. All right, we will now go to the Artist Mentor Program, and I have some very good news. As you know, we have 4 mentors. Bobby Balderman, who, alas, is leaving us after this meeting, has once again done a stunning job reaching out to the educational community. We have 10, count them, 10 student applicants this year. So, we will be having a meeting shortly of that committee, although 2 of the members of the committee will no longer be commissioners, So as a result, we won't have to agendize it because it won't be,
Just the one of you.
it'll be an ad hoc committee because we'll be adding 2 citizens to my efforts to choose the students. So we'll go forward that way, okay? And we'll make those decisions by the end of this month or early next month so that the students and the mentors can go forward, okay? And we can do PR, yes. All right, let us move on to public art.
Public art.
Ms. Golden, please.
Public art. Well, thank you, everybody who did respond to the materials that went out on the murals. I don't know who responded because of the Brown Act. I couldn't find that out. It doesn't matter. But I thought that whoever you are, those are really good questions and really good points. And tonight, anyone that has any questions or any points that they would like the Public Art Committee to consider, because this will now go to the Public Art Committee. It'll be a public meeting, and we will talk about the suggestions that have come to us and take a look at this very, very preliminary idea, which is really drawn from a lot of different sources, including, I always want to say Maudette Fink, but it's
It is
Renata
Maudette.
Collins.
It is Maudette.
Is it Maudette?
Yeah.
Who kind of mapped out what a mural ordinance might look like for the city of Ojai. So we have a lot of work to do. There was a timeline attached to those documents so that you can figure that each one of those points is at least 1 month. And we're looking at a year or at the most 3/4 of a year before we would have anything that we would want to go forward with. If you don't have questions tonight or comments tonight, please email James, per the Brown Act, and he will get those comments to the committee. And maybe we need to say by such a date, because we need to make a committee meeting and consider all of that. So can we say within the next 10 days, if you have any comments, that you would do that? Mm-hmm.
One of my biggest comments I did email to him was the MAC. You can't, that abbreviation.
What is there a MAC?
It's a MAC is a board.
A city
County
board?
board. It's a county
Oh, but
board.
it's a county board.
Yeah, but it's too confusing.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, I have that note, and we will certainly pay attention to that.
And I would like.
I'd like to compliment Christine. I think that was an extraordinary presentation that she sent out to all of us.
Thank you,
It's just
Michael.
really groundbreaking and points the way in a, as
Thank you.
usual,
Appreciate
thorough and detailed way. And it's a great start to a complicated
Start.
project. Yeah.
Very
Stuart?
complicated.
I would like to comment. I agree. I sent this note to James, too.
Oh.
It's an incredible amount of work and very clear. One thing that I would not want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 words in this.
Oh, that was yours.
Relate to the history and culture of Ojai.
Yes, I got that.
You got it?
Yeah, I did.
What
And
what if we wanted Richard Amon to do something? It's not
Exactly.
figurative, it's.
Exactly.
You know.
And it's interesting that came back. That came, I forget which document I looked at, but several of them had that kind of wording. So I threw it in there
Oh, good.
to get responses to it. But I'm glad somebody did respond that way.
Good.
And that's part of the work that we have to do is how do we word this in a way that leaves it open and yet is respectful to who we are as a community.
And the First Amendment issues are very real. I think that's something in
Very
this
real.
heightened awareness time that we live in that we have to be very cognizant of, is that we
Yeah.
cannot set up anything that will lead to problems in that area.
And there is case law on when a new owner takes a building over.
That's what I wanted to ask
and
about,
there's
what happens.
There's case law. And what happens is if a new owner comes in and they want to remove a mural, there are California statutes that protect the artist. So we have to be very cognizant of that when we write this mural
good.
ordinance and make sure that that's understood. That a new building owner, there's got to be some sort of a covenant or something. We don't know what it's going to look like, but that.
That's why I wasn't clear.
Yeah, and if you look at the timeline, you'll see that once we have a bullet list to give to James of everything that we think needs to go in here, because James and I have talked about this obviously quite a lot, that will go to Matt Summers and be put into the correct language, and then it will come back to us. So it's going to do this, go back and forth until we're happy and city is happy, and then it goes to the city council, and hopefully they will implement, ratify it, is that the right word? Or whatever?
Yeah, and
Am I
will-
saying it right?
Yes.
Okay.
It will, typically it goes from us to the council, or when I say us, I mean the Arts Commission. It goes from the Arts Commission to the council, and then they'll direct the city attorney to draft the ordinance. And then I just wanted to say for the record regarding the Brown Act thing, so both comments have been said here. We had talked about this, that we wouldn't have a deliberation. The comments were passed on without any, who said what or anything, and then we were going to read them out here, and then they're going to go back to the mural committee where they'll be spoken about as well. So plenty of opportunity for public comment.
Okay.
Thanks, James. Does anybody else want to say anything about that mural before I move to the next thing? There's a second thing that I want to talk about.
I wanted to ask you what you responded to that email.
I'm sorry?
What did you respond to the person that emailed you about the mural?
Oh, it's turned out that gentleman, whose name is eluding me, but the building is the former East End Cafe. It turns out that what they were looking for was a sign. They emailed us a photograph. I think, Michael, you saw it too, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they emailed a sign, and emailed their idea, and it was clearly something that would go under the sign ordinance, because the sign ordinance takes care of anything that is actually promoting the business. And that's a distinction that that the Public Art Committee will be looking at in our definitions. What is the difference between, because they use the word mural in the sign ordinance, unfortunately. When we talk, what we're doing is a public art mural, as distinguished from a sign mural. There's a difference. Very, one of those things.
That is something I wanted to respond back, because the question came up at the last meeting. Don't we already have a mural ordinance? And the ordinance now has the word mural in it, but it's really intended to be a painted wall sign ordinance. So right now there's nothing for just purely artistic signs.
Okay, you had another item?
Yeah,
you
there
wish
is a
to
second thing,
discuss?
and that has to do with the project that we approved at the last meeting, which was to go forward with some kind of painted utility boxes. And, there's a lot on the public art plate. And I didn't want to suggest this without first talking to Christine about it, Christine Byrne. But I got an idea that would it be wonderful to have an ad hoc committee with Christine Byrne as the chair, who would handle the mural project, and she would not ask me to be on that committee.
You mean the box project, not the mural project?
Yes, I'm sorry, did I say mural?
Yeah.
The utility box project, and Christine could pick 2 people here, plus community members. She could devise that any way she wants to, and really have some fun.
I think that's a great
She
suggestion.
agreed.
That's a great suggestion.
You all agree.
I think
Yeah.
it'd be fun.
Okay.
Do we
so
need to make that a
Christine, how about-
vote? Does that have to be a vote that we have to put back on next month?
Yeah, we don't have it on the agenda, so we can put it on next
Yeah.
month, but work can begin in the
Yeah,
meantime.
let's put it on the agenda
Okay.
for the next
I need to
meeting.
talk to
And
you.
in the meantime,
Oh,
Christine,
yeah, you
let's
and I will talk.
you and I talk about how we want to structure it
Oh,
and so on and
thank
so
you.
forth, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you, everybody.
All right.
That is such a load
Good,
off.
good work. Good. All right, we move on to the City Gallery Committee. Ms. Byrne.
Well, right now, Joanne Pavlak, her show will be going down, and what's going to be here is the Ojai Studio Artist Scholarship Show. And I'll tell you, the artists that have been chosen, I mean, I can't say who the kids are yet, because it's, part of the publicity, but they are amazing, talented young people, a number of them from the city of Ojai and the county. And let me just get you.
When is the reception for that?
That's what I was just, I had it up on my. They are.
Yeah.
We don't have to do it. Just one, I'm sorry, I had it up and then I lost it. Yeah, and I just sent a message to Darcy. Where is it? Here it is. Sorry. Okay, so the reception, they are not doing it on a third Friday because they aren't up for that long. So their reception for this is Saturday, June 2nd, from 4 to 6. This will be the 25 years that OSA has given
that's great.
scholarships. And they've given over $233,000 for kids to pursue art. So
Wow.
it's going to be a great
great.
show. And because the Trimkin exhibit, I keep saying it wrong, is going to be over at the museum. Normally, we have the same show, but this time we aren't. Well, yeah. Huh?
On the subject of ad hoc committees, shall I also then form an ad hoc committee to negotiate with the museum and the Picasso project for the continuing care center project? Or should that fall under the city gallery committee? How do we want to handle that?
See gallery.
City
Yeah.
gallery?
Yeah,
Okay.
Just give me some guidance and
It's
I
yours.
will.
Okay, we'll talk.
They know the whole collection.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk.
And Linda
Yeah,
can help me.
perfect,
Linda.
yeah.
She's on the.
Okay, I think we can move on then to arts education. And Barbara, this is your
Swan song.
swan song.
Yes, well, there's kind of good news and bad news, and I'll just give you the bad news because it's not that bad. And it's that basically we have not sold but one, I think, through the city, one book. And I called Bart's Books, and they have not sold any out of the 3 they have. The good news, though, is that I did talk to Wendy, and they have distributed in some way 181 books, of which 10 to 15, she wasn't sure of the number, were books that they actually purchased for their own use to give free to key people that they wanted to give them to. So, that's not bad. That's 181, and they only have 53 left in their boxes. So she said that this summer, of course, is the architecture exhibit, and they imagine that they'll probably sell the rest of them at the she'd like to
Great,
think that.
great.
That's.
Can I ask a question? If that happens, will there be nothing, will all the books be gone?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So-
We have 1,000 books.
So I want to let you know that I've made a personal contact with Alex Kim at the inn. I gave him a copy of the book, and I
So did
asked
I.
him. And I asked him if
He's got two.
that's 2 people. And I asked him if he would go back and revisit allowing us to put the books out.
Good,
And
good.
hopefully I will see him tomorrow. And if I do, I'm going to just, do a little,
Nail it.
One thing I do want to add is,
promise, but I'll try.
one of the things in my talking to people, because today I went around and went into Rains and some other places to try to sell the book, and they were very interested in the book, but they wanted it at 50% off, which is less than we actually paid to produce the book. So we can't sell it to them for $15. We just can't do that. And we also, it's hard to change the pricing at this time since the museum has been so wonderful in their partnership with us on this.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be very
We
nice
can't
to
undercut them.
Yeah,
No.
to undercut them. So as far as the pricing, it's got to stay where it is, and that's just the way it is. But one thing I do have a recommendation is when you bring on a new commissioner, that you make sure they have sales and marketing in their background.
Yes. Right. Okay, well,
Got to clone you.
thank you again, Bobby. You've been a
Thank you. Thank
great county commissioner.
Baby, take a bow.
And now, unfortunately, we have another swan song because Stuart is also leaving the commission.
I can't believe
Yeah.
losing 2 of us.
Sit next to this woman anymore.
Wait, no, that's usually where I sit.
I said I wanted to sit next to him tonight. I'm sorry.
Girls,
Okay.
girls.
The ever-popular Stuart Crown.
Yes, here I am.
Chair of Public Relations, and you've also done a spectacular job
no,
with that,
no, no.
cranking out the news
Thank you,
releases,
thank you. Wow.
working
We just
the
did-
turf.
Yeah, thank you. It's a tough sell, that what we're doing, and I've noticed, and I'm sure Christine has noticed this, with the media, to get excited about our press releases. And I wrote a really good release about the mentor program with a photograph and everything, and a quote from Michael, and a quote from Bobby, and it
Printed
turns out
one
to be
paragraph.
half a paragraph,
Yeah.
and it's very discouraging. So I hope the person who takes over in this job gets that, and maybe it should be a person with marketing experience who likes art, not an artist who is okay with marketing. That kind of mentality is important, I think. Pavlak we did the Mentors Program, and Christina's continuing with the website and doing a really wonderful job. It ain't easy, is it?
No, and it's,
No.
it needs
No, it's
a
very,
lot of work.
spreading the word about art in this town is very
Yeah,
competitive,
you'd
it
think.
turns out,
Yes, yes.
That's part of the problem. There's
It's
so much
competitive.
going on.
We actually would like to know, Chair Addison, who the person was who led your campaign for Macbeth, because it was all,
Well, yes.
Stuart, but also
go.
Kathleen.
Kathleen Kaiser
Kathleen
is
Kathleen Kaiser,
really, is a pro.
unbelievable.
She's a
Yeah,
pro.
she's doing a first-rate job. She's done the same thing for Bakersfield Mist, which if you haven't seen yet, you really must see.
art.
It's a very interesting play, and it's performed so well and beautifully directed, beautifully directed. So don't miss that, please. All right, well, we'll move on to art acquisitions.
That would be me. And now that we have the storage problem resolved, I'm going to be meeting with what's left of my committee, which would be you, to purchase some art. We have some money to, and we have to have the invoice in by what for this year? July,
No later than June 30th.
June 30th. Because I have a couple ideas and I want to talk to you about it. So we will go ahead and do that, and I'll get back to Wendy that we're going to ask for that in our budget, and I hope we get it this year. Okay.
Okay, well, we have one remaining item on the agenda, and that is the awards, and in this case, it's choosing the lifetime.
I'm sorry, I forgot
Yes,
one thing.
one
that's
thing,
really
okay.
important, and I didn't bring it up. It's kind of acquisitions, but it's also the museum. They just went ahead and updated their programming for the, Past Perfect, what, I can't remember the name of the program. Anyway, it's what they use for maintaining the collection, and they just updated it, and it's much easier. And Wendy has been taking some time with me to go back over, and it's going to be really a lot easier and a lot easier on everybody to list. And I'm just really excited that they've
Good.
done it. So I wanted to make sure I said that.
Well, it's great that that relationship with the museum is really thriving. The fact that the Trimpen Redux is going to have a special exhibit, the fact that we have the ongoing exhibit space for the city collection, and presumably sometime in the next year, we'll have a city collection exhibit at the museum. I think that's something we've discussed, but we need to push a little bit to make sure that that happens. Okay, Lifetime Achievement Award. You all received in your packet, I think, 25 pages of information on the various people that we have considered for the Lifetime Achievement Award for this year. And I remind you that it's for someone who has a significant reputation, a national reputation, or at least a strong regional reputation, who's made a continuing contribution to the community. That is to say, an artist who is at a high level of achievement and who is a important member of our community. So I would like to open the floor to discussion and/or nominations. Stuart.
One thing that's interesting to me, I made a list of those people I might want to vote for. And then I went back and looked at the criteria, and it says, enhance our understanding and appreciation of the arts. Now, there's some artists here whose work I don't particularly like, but boy, have they given to the artist community of this town and done great work. So I think we need to think about what they have done for this town, because that's part of what's in here. Not
Absolutely.
just their reputation and not, I love their work. What
Yeah,
have they
that's-
done for this
yeah,
town?
Our personal judgment of the work is not really a fundamental
Right.
criterion.
Yeah.
I think we have to assume that these are all people who are vetted by others than us and have that sort of reputation. Bobby?
In reading these, because I had that in the back of my mind, that it was this key point of that they needed to contribute to our community. And I found there were some very accomplished people, but there was really not a good mention. And I say that because maybe they have made profound contributions, but it doesn't become clear in their bio. And so if anybody knows of anything that maybe somebody did that isn't apparent, I'd sure like to know, because I was impressed by all these people, but there were, to me, only a handful that met our criteria.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a kind of question about the community involvement thing. Because I'll just use one example. Alan Thornhill is on this list. And Alan Thornhill is somebody who constantly is performing for groups gratis. Is that qualify as community involvement?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought so,
Yeah.
but I wanted to make sure.
Oh,
So that's kind of to Bobby's point, is I think that probably some of us do know because of the materials not addressing those three areas consistently. So if we do know, we probably should speak up and say, this person really has that. Another one is
Scott
Scott
Smith.
Smith.
Scott Smith.
Smitty West. I mean, he constantly is giving back to the community
Yep.
and to the kids. Candace Delbo was another one that has a lot
But
of.
you have to address Commissioner Addison's point that they have to have a national or regional reputation, and those two people don't
Well,
really.
It says recognition in their field, but I don't know that I ever read it had to be national or regional, just recognition.
Well, I guess I just assumed that, but
Did you just assume that?
maybe that's not,
We always did
I think
talk.
we've always talked about,
Yeah, I don't know that the past recipients had a national.
no, that's
I think
probably
it's just that they're
exaggerated.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
And
But it would be nice.
yeah.
I bet we can find some.
Can I nominate
But how are we
somebody?
going to make this choice?
Can I?
Well,
nom-
that's the next step. Linda?
I would like to nominate Jay Hirsch, simply because she does have a reputation, if you can read in this. She has given of herself in this community for years and years and years.
Could you say how that is so? Because I looked for that.
Well, she's the founder of Madrigali. She was a founder or
Shakespeare
artistic
Festival.
director of the Shakespeare Festival.
And they've,
so-
Madrigali performs gratis
Right.
Yeah.
every
Okay.
year
All right,
for the
gotcha.
and in fact,
community.
has performed all over the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
they've toured in Europe
And
as
she's the
well.
vocal director of practically every show that
Oh,
comes
yes.
out of Nordhoff
Gotcha.
or.
Murdoch High
or
School,
Sheraton.
and she always does the art centers a lot of times. I mean,
Yeah.
she's really involved in the
I think
community.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Thank
So-
you.
Okay, well, that's one nominee. Are there any other nominees?
Yeah, I would nominate Karen Lewis for many of the same reasons. Her involvement with Ojai Studio Artists, certainly.
And she also, it doesn't say it on here, but she was on the board for many years at the Art Center and was very involved with them. Yes.
Oh, I've forgotten that.
Okay.
So, but it's not on here, but she's, Karen, if you're watching this, forgive me, but she's getting older, so she isn't quite as involved as she
didn't wanna say
used
that.
to
I was
be.
gonna
But, she's a very high energy person who has given a lot to the community in the past.
I didn't want to be the one to say that.
Okay,
Okay,
any
yes.
other nominations? Yes.
I'd actually like to nominate Candace Delbo. I was impressed with all that she
Yeah, I
has
have her
done.
down, too.
Just to put it in a nutshell.
Any further nominations?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to nominate Brian Bemmel. He is the founder of Performances to Grow On. He created the Storytelling Festival, which is achieving world recognition. He is involved with a lot of children in the Ventura County School District and here in Ojai, and he makes a point of involving kids in this whole storytelling process. So I think it's just a wonderful dimension he brought to the community. I think storytelling is really an important artistic,
Art.
yeah,
It's an artistic art.
yeah. I think it accomplishes a lot of things.
And engages young children,
Yeah.
too, which is important in and of itself.
Yeah.
Well, we have 4 nominees.
Well, I could,
I'd like to, sorry.
go ahead.
I'd like to nominate Steve Grimmett. This is a man who founded the Ojai Film Society, the Ojai Film Festival. He has been on the board of the Art Center for 100 years. He's directed many things, not anymore. He has really given back to this town, and I think he deserves recognition.
Oh, this is tough.
It's a strong recognition, yep.
Can they all
So
get
many
it?
of them.
Well, this is not easy.
Also, we need to talk about the difference between the Hope Fraser and the,
The Hope Fraser is
Lifetime.
more focused on community engagement, is it not?
Yes, and
Yeah.
in fact, there's a candidate in here, River Savageau, who we're going to move to the Hope Fraser.
Yes.
Because
that's
of
right.
everything
We
that
did
she
talk
does
about
with the
that at our
mandala.
last
So-
meeting.
So we could
Yeah.
maybe think about that. But
That's
can
why I
I
was
say
thinking
something
about
about
maybe
one of the
Steve.
candidates?
Please.
And as long as Chris Byrne was willing to put this out on the table, I think that looking at someone's age could be figurative in this, because some of these other people are maybe, I don't know, this is so hard to say, help me, Chris.
Some of the other people are going to be around for a long time.
Don't say kick the bucket.
I didn't say that.
I think that is something that we
We should think
can
about.
really
Sure.
think about.
Because there's always next year for somebody else.
and also, do we need to look at who we've honored over the years? We did that when we were on the committee, you know, whether they're, what area they're
did.
from.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And I
can't
don't know that I have that.
You don't
list
have it.
I
with
think
Alright.
it's
me.
on the website.
So can I make a motion that we give the Lifetime Achievement in the Arts Award this year to Karen Lewis?
Shouldn't we vote? Do it a different way
Well,
than
that's
just
how we,
by...
then we would
Well,
vote
we've
on
got
that.
nominees.
Oh, and then vote on every single one. Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
I don't know.
Well,
We gave it to
There's gonna
visual
be
artists
6
last
people
year.
or 5
we did give it to a visual artist last year. I think
did?
that's, yeah, Sue.
Oh, that's right.
Who do we give it to?
Susan Almond last year,
We did?
didn't we?
Last year, Roger?
Roger
Conrad?
Conrad,
Oh, that's right.
Right.
And the year
Yeah.
before was, yeah,
Also
Yeah.
visual artist.
yeah.
Yeah, visual artist too. That's really why
That's gotta be
I
a factor,
nominated
yeah.
Jay, because I thought, you know, Jay
That's
has,
a good point.
Yeah.
she's
Very
been
good
involved
point.
in theater and
Toughie.
voice, and I think we need to kind of round it out, because we have a lot of visual artists.
Good.
Whoop.
So if we took that as a guideline, then I would think that Jay, Brian Bemmel, and Steve Grumet would be the three,
And Candace.
and Candace as well, yeah.
And so you have two musicians, a storyteller, and a
And a theater person,
theater person.
yeah.
It's tough.
If I can just add something,
Yeah.
I don't know if this helps sway a decision, but what Brian does is so unique, and it brings another dimension to what we, as a commission, are trying to include in our,
That's true.
you know, in what we're exposing people to. I think it kind of is a nice thing to do, because it. Is he still doing it? Yeah, he's still doing it.
That's what I
yeah.
was trying to say.
Yeah, that he has a very unique thing he does, and I think it would be nice to honor that.
But I would also like to point out that Madrigali is very unique, and I used to sing with Jay in the Ojai Camarada, and she is so involved in the community and so hardworking, and just gives of herself
Yep.
to the community.
Year-round, I might add.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Should we put names in
Well,
a hat?
maybe we have two finalists. Maybe we have Brian and Jay as the two finalists, and maybe we vote on those two. Is everybody comfortable with that? I know, it's, but, you know, this is
I'm
tough-
serious.
this
Could
is
we
tough
put
every
names,
year.
could we put the 4 names, Jay and Steve and Brian and Candace in a hat and pull one out?
I
No.
don't
No,
wanna
we
do that.
can't do
No, I
that?
don't
Oh,
want it to be
darn.
random access, no. Is everybody comfortable with our focusing on Jay Hirsch and Brian Bemmel? Does anybody object to that?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of Jay Hirsch?
There you go.
That's 4. And Brian Bemmel? 3. Jay Hirsch, it is.
I'm happy with Jay Hirsch, too.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I would recommend a motion
Yes.
to,
I move therefore that we award the Lifetime Achievement Award to Jay Hirsch
And I second.
for 2018. Any further discussion?
When will you call
I
her?
believe this goes to.
She's in auditions right now
Yeah.
for Man of La Mancha.
Of course.
So I could have her
She
call you.
does, she does go to this goes to the council, does it not, for their
Yes.
approval? I think so. So it will go to the council, and then she will be formally notified, but I think we can slip the word to her before then. Okay.
So do we need to vote?
We have a
again?
motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, done. And we'll grapple with it all over again next year. Save this information, by
Yes.
the way,
And save the list.
and save the list, yeah. Okay, folks, we now move to,
And we have the Hope Fraser. Are we going to look at that too?
yes, as you and I as awards committee will
And then
look
we
at
can,
that.
yeah, look at those, some
We'll
of those names.
Work on that at our next meeting. Okay, let's go to the staff liaison report, please. Mr. Vega?
I'll try to keep it brief. The commission last meeting had requested more information on one of the projects subject to public art requirements, which is the 316 East Matilaha Street, which is on the second page of that report, about a quarter of the way down. And, about a quarter of the way down. And so we have looked into that further, and I reported last meeting that they had a building permit with the proposed valuation of $150,000. I've met with the building department, and the building department has in turn met with the applicant, and the applicant has stated that there are additional repairs that they're going to do either via a second permit or just a modification of that permit, but they're aware that both of those permits will be combined. They gave us a ballpark. It's still, I don't think we'll get to that level, but we're watching it, and we'll keep kind of, reporting back as it makes progress. It's going to be a few weeks until they know what else exactly they're going to do. But so the value on that is going to be higher than the 150 we reported last time. So we'll update as that comes in.
So somebody's looking at that, because I noticed they put in new piping, new waste, they put in new doors, they put in new windows, they're putting a new roof line in,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think some skylights, so it's got to go over.
Yeah. Yeah. So the building inspector, 2 weeks ago after we talked, went out, and then again yesterday he went out. So he's working with them. Part of the issue is there's certain repairs that they can't make until the county clears some issues, which then, because they're opening a restaurant. And so they thought that they needed to wait and do that as a separate permit, which they didn't really need to do. So that's kind of the reason for the bifurcated process. But so there's that one. The other, just update, and I think Commissioner Golden and I mentioned this at the last meeting, but the olive mill have kind of inquired about meeting with the public art
For a waiver.
to talk about that process.
City council, yes.
Yeah, so that
We
is,
want to do that, don't we? Yeah.
yes, so that's something we can move forward on this month.
James, I'm confused. Is Olive Mill the same as the Seine, or is that a
No.
different?
No, two separate projects.
And
Olive
so,
Mill's over on over there by Bryant, you know what I'm talking about, that section over there?
is it the one
Craftsman Village is going up, it's like
Yeah.
right across the street from.
across the street,
Yeah.
though, so
It's a
it's,
single family.
what's the address?
I think it's 601 Pearl,
Right
Oh,
there.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay.
which is on the second page.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
there
have
it
to
is.
catch up
Yeah.
a little bit.
Well, it's
on this.
confusing, there's so
Yeah,
many.
there's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So those are the two that,
Okay.
have moved forward. Nothing,
Well, I have a question
Yeah.
that one's, I don't think on the list.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious. And on Montgomery next to, I know it's not Tipple and Rumble, but it's something like that.
Oh,
Tipple
Tipple
and
and
Ramble.
Ramble.
You just like the tipple part.
It's really called Precious and Cute. That's what it really is.
Mary Miller's
And there's it used to be
Soul Center.
soul-centered, and it's being converted into a museum.
Carrie
Did
Miller's
they have to get
project.
permits for that? I mean, I don't know that it would
It's a
qualify,
museum.
but I'm just curious why it's not showing up somewhere. Can you find that out?
Yeah,
I just heard about that.
I will find out. I actually have not heard about that.
I know the building, but I didn't
They're- Apparently, they're making some kind of a museum out of the structure in the back, which is this beautiful yurt.
They took that down.
Did they take the yurt down? Well, then they're building a building back
Your
there.
microphone isn't on, Christine.
They're building a building back there.
If they're
If they took the yurt down, because well, anyway, could you
Okay,
check it
he'll-
out?
Yeah.
He'll look into it.
Yeah, if they're building a building and it's not a residence, then it could theoretically be subject to the
Tipple and
requirements.
rumble.
Yeah, so we'll look at that. And then the Public Art Fund, no major changes this month. We did sell a gallery piece, so that's reflected on here, and there
Oh,
was interest on a second gallery piece, but it just hasn't sold yet. So, so that would be reflected on the next one if that goes through. So, but it shows a remaining balance of approximately $56,000. So.
would you like to tell everybody about the fountain? The Matilda Poppy Fountain was off for some time, and James is so great. Tell me what happened.
Well, Public Works went out and they got it working. I didn't get an explanation for why it's not working, but the fountain is working. And I'm making more work for myself, but I noticed when I was out there, I didn't see a plaque. Is there a plaque?
Oh, the
there?
plaque, that's a great, the plaque, because
have
at one
asked.
point, we all went looking for plaques to work on getting all the plaques up to date. And boy, did we have a hard time finding that plaque. It's
way
not
over
by the,
Yeah, it's on the
not
buil-
there.
it's on the
It's like
building.
over on a post
I looked for a couple minutes. I didn't
across
see
the
it.
way.
Yeah.
It's on that post. Yeah, it's there.
Okay,
Yeah.
And then, are we set to go with the Roger Conrad contract?
Yes, so the contract that the commission had approved for the archival photography, the holdup, and I'll admit, I think it was for a good reason. Part of it was me. I was trying to modify the insurance requirements because we have very high insurance requirements as a city, and Roger going out and taking photos, I didn't think it was necessary. So that was a few weeks of a holdup to try to get everybody on board, but we made that change, so we'll meet with Roger and try to get the contract.
So we're going to
signed.
be having a meeting with him soon, which you can do. I don't need to be there.
Okay.
Okay. And just make sure there's nothing else I need to ask
Okay.
you. Fountain contract, okay.
all right. We'll go around the table for commissioner comments. Commissioner Crowner?
I want to say how much I admire Commissioner Balderman. I'm just incredibly hardworking and good judgment, and
Yes.
I'm in awe of you, Bobby, honestly.
And I want
Commissioner
to,
Golden?
and I want to say how much I admire Bobby Balderman, and I'm just so happy because I brought her on. And, and I'm the one. I know what we're going to do without your skills and talents. I mean, I need you for the tour thing. What am I going to do? Can you be
Ad
on,
hoc.
can we do an ad hoc for that, and I can get Bobby to help with it? And I also want to say
Yeah, exactly.
how much I admire Stuart. I don't think anybody else can correct me quite as nicely as Stuart can.
Shut up. Timing, it's all about timing.
Yeah.
It's all about
yeah.
timing. So, I mean, these two, what a loss, the two of you. It just breaks my heart that you're leaving, the two of you.
Ms. Byrne, comments?
Well, as I emailed Stuart, who am I going to giggle with now? Because he's, a jokester over there. And so since this is normally my seat, I get to hear everything. And Bobby's an amazing designer and an incredibly wonderful person. We're going to miss you a lot. And a great pastel artist.
That too, yes.
And then on a more personal note, I'd like to invite everybody, am I allowed to do this?
Yes.
Ojai Studio Artists is painting a community thank you mural at the museum tomorrow. And we're inviting anybody to come and slap on some paint. It'll be from 5 to 7:30, and then it's found a home outside of the city limits of Ojai by the Coffee Connection corner in Miners Oaks.
Not that far away.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I can't say anything more than everybody's already sent. I I don't know, it gets kind of depressing to see all these good people leave. Stuart, Bobby, what can I say? You really are going to be missed.
Well, I second that. I mean, it's been wonderful having a smart aleck on the commission. But you've done such great work, and Bobby, too. Bobby's been on the commission longer, and her credits for the commission are just extraordinary. The book wouldn't have happened without Bobby, and the spreading of the word about the Artist Mentor Program this year wouldn't have happened without Bobby. And
We're going to add that.
we're going to have to invite you to be citizen volunteer in a lot of what we do. Okay, Bobby?
Well, I couldn't have done what I was doing without the support of all of you. And it's been an incredible experience for me. And I think this is an incredible team. And I will support you in any way I can. And obviously with some limitations, which is why I am not going to be an art commissioner anymore. And I'll do what I can. And I want to thank all of you for this great opportunity that I've had.
And that will
Stuart,
be
you're
recorded
amazing.
in the minutes that she will do anything she can, right?
Within my capacity.
All right.
The key word,
Yes,
capacity.
with the key word. All right. Yes. And Marcy, comments?
Well, what can I add? Bobby, you've proven yourself to be a person who, when you set your mind to something, you do it. You do it and you don't give up. And so I know that whatever you do going forward, whatever you want to accomplish or achieve, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it's just a huge loss for us. And Stuart, I mean, you guys are going to be irreplaceable. I don't know how you're going to cast the new commissioners. I don't know how you're going to go about casting that, seeking one really funny guy that,
We'll have auditions.
and Bobby, a workhorse of a commissioner with creativity and artistic ability and the whole package. So anyway.
Great to get along with.
Easy to get along with.
Well, one final note from Councilman Wyrick. Do you have anything you want to say today?
We're getting misty up here.
Yeah, we are.
You two, what an example in terms of dedicating to the betterment of the life of the community in all its best aspects. And I just got to say this, first time I saw you, and then I started watching you, the most effectiveness per pound of person I think I've ever seen. The biggest impact per pound. I mean, you're a tremendous amount of impact that you've had. It's wonderful to watch over the years. James, now this is the passion central, for all the right reasons. And for example, you got to keep the fountain going. I mean, it's and we can't have staff make decisions to disable any aspects of public art without wider review. You've learned that lesson, and you've learned it again. It's an important part of the integrity of these pieces, and part of the appreciation for it. So, this is my favorite gig in terms of liaison, being when I get assigned to you guys seriously, in terms of this commission. I learn the most from commissioners when I'm a liaison in this, on those calendar quarters. And of course, the other person who educates me. So, anyway, again, thank you very much for the service, guys, and I hope you ask them for some advice for replacements.
Oh, yeah, we have already, yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks. And ladies and gents, we are adjourned. Yeah.
Not even 8 o'clock.
I know, and we had good discussions, too, about several important issues.
Yeah, I was really thrilled that when they updated their, I want to say it's Passport, I think that might be the name of it, their software for.
Oh, I don't know, yeah, but I'm delighted to hear that it's just getting better and better, yeah.
We found the wrap thing, and together it was like, yeah.
Yes.
woman sitting out there with the short hair?
Yeah.
That's Jules Weissman, and I encouraged her to apply.
Oh, good.
She's an amazing graphic designer.
Terrific, terrific, terrific.
Really young. She said it would be a dream of hers to be on the commission.
So she gonna apply?
She did apply.
Good, good.
Yes,
Well,
so I just